Let me recognize the permanent secretaries of the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Gary Joseph and Madam Nataki Atiba Dilchan. Recognize as well Chief of Defense Staff, Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel, the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Arnold Bristow, the Acting Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Deo Prasad Ramuta, and of course I recognize Senior Superintendent Thompson, representing the Commissioner of Police, the Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Sanka, heading the Forensic Science Center, of course, all the other heads of national, oh yes, of course, the Commandant of the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force, who is here with us as well, and all the heads of national security. I recognize rather specially Professor Rosemary Bellantwine, who just addressed us in her capacity as Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the very esteemed University of the West Indies, St. Augustine Campus, Deputy Permanent Secretaries all, heads of all the agencies and the units within the Ministry of National Security, Dr. Mark Wodu Vera, Dean of the Faculty, who addressed us earlier today, while I admired his appearance and turnout tremendously, Dr. Alette Saintville, head of the Department of Geography, and Dr. Gabriel Thongs, of whom mention was made, significant mention was made, lecturer in the Department of Geography, other representatives of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine Campus, of course, Major General Smart, who heads the ODPM, thought I forgot. Leading the ODPM and all the other members of the ODPM who, of course, are at the center of this very important activity here today. Commendably so, members of the media, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I join with the rest of my colleagues, particularly here at the head table, to extend to you, Professor Bellantwine, our congratulations on your elevation to that, however belatedly. This is my first opportunity. And of course, all of your team, as we issue a warm welcome to you here at the Ministry of National Security. Not for the first time. We spent some time together when we were doing the consultations on the decriminalization of certain elements of the marijuana piece. And of course, our pathway towards the medicinal and other uses of that very important herb. Yes, gaining more and more significance in the world, at least more known, because it was being used for thousands of years to great effect. So we don't see you all together as any stranger, and we appreciate all of your work in support of what we do. Thank you very much. As Minister of National Security, under which remit the disaster management at the national level rests, it gives me more than usual pleasure to have participated in and to have overseen the signing of this MOU between the UWI and the Ministry of National Security. At the onset, let me state that this MOU directly supports the Ministry of National Security's mission, which is to advance national development by creating a safer and more secure society through enhanced collaboration among all stakeholders, intelligence-based decision-making, and strengthens interagency structures and systems, unquote. Similarly, this MOU aligns with every one of the themes of Vision 2030, the National Development Strategy 2016 to 2030, and these are putting people first, delivering good governance and service excellence, improving productivity, building global competitive businesses, and placing the environment at the center of social and economic development. This MOU, while providing a rich opportunity for building and applying knowledge, is also strategic in nature, as it will assist our ministry to achieve its requirements under that Vision 2020 project, and by extension, our achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals for and on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I locate this MOU against the backdrop of two significant events. The first is the recent excessive rainfall that occurred in the latter part of 2022 wet and hurricane seasons, particularly in the months of October and November. The second event, the COP22 meeting, which was held in Egypt in November 2022. In respect of the excessive rainfall event, for the month of October alone, the Piarco weather station measured 309.3 millimeters, which was 49% above the mean total for that month. We therefore entered November with soils already saturated, heavily laden, and our water channels having overtopped their banks in many cases. But not to be outdone, the rainfall, Mother Nature, was even more excessive, with the monthly total reaching 470.6 millimeters, which was more than 100% above that month's annual average. Such unprecedented rainfall resulted in extensive flooding and landslides across Trinidad and Tobago. Even in my own constituency, we had severe landslides around the place. We all can recall the graphic images of damage and destruction and the agony faced by many of our citizens, of which devastating news was carried on both traditional and social media platforms. These images remained very fresh, very alive in most of our minds. And I once again express publicly my regret and empathy with all of those who suffered damage and loss. And I encourage you, as we encourage ourselves, to remain resolute as you seek to recover from these and other similar events that may have transpired even before. Because in some parts of my constituency, while they were recovering from previous events, they had to live with these developments yet again. In this, I say to you, you must know that you are not alone, and you can be assured that the government will continue to work with you to ease your difficulties through programs established and operated from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, the Ministry of Works and Transport, the self-help program of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, and of course all that we offer to protect you from the Ministry of National Security. In this regard, you would recall that Cabinet, under the leadership of our esteemed Prime Minister, identified 140 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars for immediate release to ease the plight of the homeowners and farmers and to repair the road network that suffered extreme damage in some communities, such as the Manzanilla-Mayaro Road, which has since been rehabilitated and made passable again. Some of this money will come from the payout that our country received from the insurance policies that we hold with the Caribbean Catastrophic Risk Insurance Facility. This payout is the 5th successive one that we have received for hydrometeorological events since 2017, which seems to support the now hardening and established view that our climate is in fact changing. Climate change is no longer a futuristic concept, it is real, it is with us. And that frequency of claims demonstrates that, at least to us. And we can expect, as those who know tell us, that we would see more of these very concentrated and excessive rainfall events. It is through research conducted by the University of the West Indies, in combination with our practical, hands-on, on-the-ground knowledge and experiences through the ODPM and other agencies of national security and the government very generally. It is that kind of combination of the expertise, the learning, the wisdom, the intellect of the university and our activities on the ground that will help us co-create solutions to manage the effects of climate change and to prevent, mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from severe hazards and disasters. The second significant event that I earlier referred to was the recently concluded COP27 summit. Attendees at that conference, as well as the scientists on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, have informed us that we must prepare for a world and a region that may experience an increase in global temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius, even before 2050. The anticipated effects of such future and they are colossal, and academia has a huge role to play in this regard. Thankfully, this, in all its dimensions, already has been occupying the minds of you, the academics at the University of the West Indies. And we look forward to the continued application of the sciences that you dwell in and practice and share to help build a more resilient Trinidad and Tobago, because after all, it is one of the major responsibilities of the ODPM to build community and nationwide resilience to these disastrous events. Similarly, at the Ministry of National Security, we have been doing our part to respond to the climate crisis. Led, as I indicated earlier, by the ODPM, we have been making strides to implement the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction using an all-of-society approach. Hence, this initiative to partner with you, the University of the West Indies, is not a matter of happenstance, but a deliberate effort for us to tap into your strengths, your wisdom, your intellect. We recognize that many developing countries, many countries that are ambitious in respect of development, must be guided by intellect, must be guided by learning and facts, scientifically established facts, as well, of course, as the moral and spiritual directions that the spiritual and the faith-based elements of our society can generate. And we understand that as policymakers, as legislators, as administrators, we don't have all the answers. We implement on behalf of the majority, well, the people of the country that we serve, and hope we do so in the satisfaction of the greatest many, and we work in the greatest good for the greatest many. But we understand the value of what you contribute, and we are quite happy to benefit lavishly from it. And this MOU, therefore, is intended to be much more than building competences and capabilities in the areas of climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction and management. I would too like to thank the framers of this MOU for your foresight, in extending it to cover all aspects of the Ministry of National Security's contributions to our society. Based on this omnibus approach, I can envision our Defense Force and Protective Services, our Immigration Division, our Forensic Science Center, the Cadet Force, and even our general administration here at National Security, taking full advantage of this broad range of opportunities that this MOU holds out on offer, and developing with the university professional programs for the advancement of our members, and by extension, the delivery of better products and services to the public of Trinidad and Tobago and the wider region to the extent that we do that. This MOU also benefits in particular our young people, our youth, who may be interested in a career in disaster management and any of the other services offered by our ministry. Consequently, through this approach, we now have a framework to develop programs that offer opportunities for the youth to make their contributions to this society. In closing, I once again thank you, Professor Belantwine, and your team for your commitment to support the Ministry of National Security and Sustainable National Development through your work at the University of the West Indies. I also thank my own team here in the Ministry of National Security, led by our permanent secretaries, supported on this occasion directly by the ODPM and the legal department for all of your unstinting work to have brought us to this happy and momentous occasion here today. Thank you all very warmly. Thank you all very much. Together, your work has indeed planted a seed for what has the potential, as we put flesh to these bones, and as we put this structure, and as we put life and meaning to it, it has the potential to be a game changer for both our institutions, benefiting the nation at large. I therefore challenge every one of us to go forward now and make what was a mere idea a few months ago into a model that others all over would want to replicate. Another example of the fact that it is intellect and equally moral and spiritual leadership that should guide this nation. Thank you for the courtesies of your attention, and may God bless you, and may God continue to bless our nation. I thank you.